States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Randy Gentry.
Here.
Nancy Alsop.
Here.
Brenda Wilson.
Here.
Steve Ellis.
Here.
Vicky Wager.
Here.
Brad Anderson.
Here.
David Thompson.
Here. Communication from elected officials, other officials, or agencies of the county. Robert.
Good evening, Rob Roberts, Chief Deputy Prosecutor. Came before you a couple months ago and just kind of shared some information regarding adult protective services and some legislative proposals that were hopefully going to be passed that would help with funding prosecutors' offices throughout the state. I said I would update you on those when I had updates. You may have already heard the funding portion of that legislation was stripped out at the last second. So unfortunately, that's not going to be a boon to Vigo or any other county at this point in time. But we'll keep trying, obviously. But probably even more unfortunate is the bidding process for adult protective services was finally completed. They selected a group as of May 2nd is when we were notified. The FSSA has accepted the request from a group called PCG Indiana. If you happen to Google, PCG stands for Public Consulting Group, and if you Google PCG Indiana, it says their offices that were in Indianapolis, Indiana are permanently closed. So, unfortunately, there were 3 people that submitted proposals for operating APS, including the Prosecuting Attorneys Council, but they changed the process. After receiving the proposals that they received, they then decided to change the criteria and indicated that if you would like to continue with the bidding or the RFP process, that you would have to come in at under $6.5 million per year. And when the prosecutor's proposal was presented, I believe we were initially at somewhere over $12 million a year. They asked for our best possible proposal. It was cut down to $10 million per year. And then when they changed the criteria for it, 2 of the groups submitted proposals or withdrew, including the Prosecuting Attorneys Council still presented a proposal that would function at, rather than the $19.5 million for a 3-year contract, for a 2-year contract. Once again, those of you that have been on the council or followed the council for the years know that every single year the county ends up supplementing the funding for adult protective services, or has in the past, and that's common throughout the state of Indiana. So I'll be interested in, first question I would like to ask is, you know, they were trying to push APS through the state of Indiana with a $5.7 million contract for the different hub units. Miraculously, they were able to come up with an additional $800,000 when we'd been asking for additional funding to stop the counties from having to pay for this state appointed agency. They were able to do that as far as this proposal process, but when we started to really crunch the numbers, there was no way that it could be done with the level of professionalism and with the type of staffing that's currently out there. Apparently a phone call was made to the APS directors earlier today. They will no longer be professional employees. They will be receiving 1099s. There will be no health benefits for APS investigators or anything like that. So to put it lightly, I'm very concerned about what will happen with the investigations, whether they're criminal neglect or just individuals that are endangered adults and need some form of intervention, how that's going to look, because while they haven't even entered into a contract yet, the current contracts expire on June 30th, which means that PCG has to have everything in place by July 1st. For a statewide agency to have everything in place within 60 days, I think is probably going to take a miracle. But in the meantime, we'll be doing what we can to facilitate and assist as much as we can. While we don't like the outcome, we certainly don't want our local endangered adults and elderly population to suffer. So, any questions? All right.
I don't believe so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other communications from elected officials, other officials or agencies of the county?
Mr. President, briefly, I just wanted to advise members of the council that I had asked Devin to print the two most recent reports submitted by Dave Frederick, our attorney in the jail litigation case. So you should have before you the defendant's monthly status report and the defendant's monthly COVID-19 status report filed at the end of April 2025. Just gives an outline as far as where those matters are at, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to try and answer them.
Any questions from council? I've got one thing I want to mention to our budget committee, I guess. Signed today by the governor was House Bill 1001. Section 127 says effective July 1st of 2025, beginning after June 30th, 2025, if a community health center provides compensation to any individual employee, not including clinical staff, including salary and benefits, and the amount of, let me see, over $400,000, then the community mental health center is not eligible to receive funding from local property taxes or state programs or grants. How do you understand that, Michael?
So the current setup as it stands now with the community mental health designation being Hamilton Center, they would have to make arrangements to comply with that statute based on my early interpretation of what I read regarding what the governor signed today. So the designation that they receive from the county entitles them to a percentage of the property tax rate that is collected. And so I believe based on that, they would have to, after June 30th of this year, be in compliance with that provision of the law or risk not having that funding available in 2026 and not being eligible for other grant opportunities moving forward. So,
And I believe the county gave roughly $760,000 last year. Is that
yes,
right?
no, that number, I don't know year to year how much it fluctuates, but I believe it fluctuates slightly based on the assessment, the exemptions, all the factors that play into the overall tax rate. So that number is based on a percentage of the overall assessed value here in Vigo. So yes, they would be subject to that law by virtue of the funding they currently receive. So
Yes.
You kind of have to read that one more time.
Section 127 says beginning after June 30th, 2025, if a community health center provides compensation to any individual employee, not including clinical staff, including salary and benefits, in an amount that is $400,000 or more per year, then the community health center is not eligible to receive funding from, number one, local property taxes, or number two, state programs or grants, excluding Medicaid program. Councilman Ellis.
Follow-up question for attorney. Are we as a county required to put them on notice or give them any type of notification, or are we able, is ownership on them and we simply look and see where they're at the deadline date?
I certainly would have no problem, Councilman Ellis, advising them of the, but my strong opinion would be that they were aware of it, but certainly the onus is on them, given that it's a statute in their section, the health section of the code where they operate primarily. Objectively, the onus is on them, but I understand the sentiment to advise them and have no problem if that's what the council would like me to do.
To clarify, I wasn't suggesting either way. I was just curious as to what our legal obligation was.
Yeah, I don't think we have a legal obligation to advise them.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. President? Mr. Wright,
Yes.
in regards to this, you said that funding would cease in January 2026. How often do we distribute funds to Hamilton Center?
I couldn't speak intelligently on that, Randy. My understanding from a historical perspective is that it was maybe in one fell shot, that they got that money all at once pursuant to, it's obviously placed in the prior year's budget, and then once the calendar year started, I thought that they made a request and so I could not speak. The commissioners might be able to speak more recently how it's been handled, but my impression before, it was not like billed monthly or something like that. It was whatever was approved in the budget was requested and submitted and was requested and distributed in one swoop.
So technically, if it was a multiple payment system where we still had outstanding, even though it was in the budget, we would be prohibited by Indiana law to distribute those funds. Is that correct?
After June 30th, I would say
Of this
yes.
year. So I think it'd be important, I don't know, Mr. Auditor, if you could look into that, or commissioners, tell us if there's any outstanding balance left that has to go to Hamilton Center, or how that's going to process. I'd like to know.
I can tell you in just a minute.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other questions from council? Okay. We will move on. Resolutions and ordinances other than appropriations. There are none. Ordinances relating to appropriations. A, additional appropriation 2025-2020 or 2025-29 Surveyor's Office, request for new GPS units.
Good afternoon, Bruce Allen, Vigo County Surveyor. I'm requesting $68,500 for 2 new GPS units. Our current units are over 10 years old, so it's kind of time to update them. They can't be updated with their software anymore. They've seen their time, so with this new equipment, we've talked to probably one of the most knowledgeable people around this area that knows surveying equipment, and he's recommended this piece of equipment for us. This money is coming out of our perpetuation fund, which we're the only office that can spend out that anyway. So that's my request. If you have any questions.
Councilman Ellis?
Are there multiple sources for multiple quotes, or is this something that you go directly to the factory, to the manufacturer? How's that work?
This is quoted through Siler Instrument. In your page there, I also submitted a letter from Trimble themselves, the manufacturer, that Siler is the only company in the state of Indiana that can sell this and service it.
Okay, so my follow-up question to that would be, are there any other brands that might be more competitive? I'm not suggesting that this isn't competitive. I'm just trying to educate myself.
There is other brands out there, but with the equipment that we were looking at,
This is
none
what's preferred.
comparable. Yeah, this
Okay.
is preferred.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilman Gentry?
can you give us just a brief understanding as to what you do with this equipment? What's the daily use for it?
Well, first, let me give you the perpetuation fund. $5 off of every document recorded in the recorder's office goes into this fund. I currently have $348,236.43 in this account. I've got $300,000 invested in Trust Indiana. We gained probably approximately $400 or $850 in interest a month. It used to be, prior to July of 2017, we would only get $5 per deed. The legislation changed it to make it $5 for almost every document in there. But we are required by law, by the state, to maintain our section corners. These section corners are what every survey, deed, plat, everything is based on. So our job is to protect these, reset them when they get disturbed, or simply if they're already gone, we go back, put them in. With this equipment, we go down, get our coordinates on them, so if they do get disturbed later on, then we can go back and reset it using those coordinates.
So this type of equipment's like a certified piece of equipment that,
Oh, this is, yes, it's
like military grade,
survey grade.
survey grade?
Yes.
All right. All right, thank you, Mr. President.
Any other questions? And you can only use this fund for certain things, correct?
Right. This is the main reason right here for the equipment for perpetuating corners.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is additional appropriation 2025-30, Lost Creek Fire Protection District. Anybody here from Lost Creek? Page is this on 11? Who turned this in? Do you know if Abby was coming? Does anybody from the auditor's office know if, did Abby turn this in? Okay. All right, well, we will. It's on page 24 of our book. Does anybody have any questions about it? Anybody from council? All right, we will move on. Additional appropriation 2025-31, Juvenile Justice Center. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Andrea Moeller. I'm the interim director of the Vigo County Juvenile Justice Center. And I am requesting an appropriation, two different ones. The first one is for $165,000 in contractual services, and this is for our nurse. So back in December, the jail signed a new contract with Quality Correctional. Well, we had a contract with Quality Correctional Care, which we weren't actually under that. We were in, the juvenile center was an amendment to that. So they signed a new contract, the jail did, with 3C, which is the Comprehensive Correctional Care. With that, we have a nurse finally in our facility 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. I've worked at the juvenile center for 20 years, and we have never had a nurse Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, for 40 hours. It is incredibly wonderful just to have that liability taken off of us. Our detention officers are not passing medications anymore. The nurse does it. So with that being said, the jail normally paid our portion of the nurse when we were under the other contract. This company is more expensive than the other company, 3C, that we had. So the jail is not able to pay for our nurse anymore. So that's why we're requesting this money. And this money is also coming out of our non-reverting fund, which that money is from juveniles. We house juveniles, out-of-county juveniles, and we charge $150 a day per diem. So that money is coming out of the non-reverting juvenile account. And again, that's not taxpayers' money. That's other taxpayers from other counties, and with that being said, like the amount of calls I get, just today I've had 15 different calls from other counties all over the state of Indiana to house their juveniles. So it's not like that's going away anytime soon. And actually 15 phone calls is a little compared to some days I get 25 phone calls. So we are requesting that money, $165,000 out of the non-reverting fund, the juvenile non-reverting fund, to go in the contractual services. And then also, I'm requesting $35,000 from the non-reverting fund to go into repair to building. And what that is for is the additional security system for the Sally Port. So our previous director put an extension on to our Sally Port. When they did that, they didn't put any security. There's not one camera. So we have to have, in order to use that, we have to have the intercom system set up. We have to have the security cameras set up. That was not in any of the budgets. That was given to him to do this project. So I'm asking for that $35,000 to finish this project. The project was actually supposed to be finished at the end of February, but with the previous director leaving, and then I kind of just took this over, it's still, I'm waiting on the money to be able to finish this. Any questions? Also, this is the first time I've ever done this. A little nervous, yeah.
Questions from council?
Thanks.
Councilman Gentry?
So, several questions.
Okay.
Some of them are gonna have to be diverted to other people, I think, to get some answers. So I'll start out with Mr. Wright. Commissioner Morris handed me the original contract from Comprehensive Correctional Care right before the meeting. I obviously haven't had a chance to review it. I'm assuming you haven't either at this point. I mean, it's something that we've signed before.
Yeah, that I'm sure was reviewed by Mr. Modisett in conjunction for the commissioners, but I have not seen that or had any dealings with it.
Okay. Well, one of the questions that I would like to understand is and Commissioner Morris, I think, was kind of asking this question in a roundabout way, is if we sign this contract and services were provided, then that contract is still in effect. And so I'd like to get some understanding as we move forward. And again, I don't know who to direct that to. I can call Mr. Modisett as well. Commissioners, I don't know. But if we had a contract and we had the services, I'd like to get more information as to, do they have the ability to even cut the services they've been providing? So that would be important to know. This next scenario is something that's just come up within probably the last hour and a half in regards to this, but you currently have a nurse that is in the facility 40 hours a week,
Yes.
and that was a contracted nurse?
No, she works for 3C.
But she was paid through the contract? Is that correct? She's a contract, she's not a county employee, she's...
Correct. No, she's
Okay.
an employee of the 3C.
Okay.
Just like the jail. The jail, this is the same thing. They're under that contract. Like, their nurses at the jail work for 3C.
Okay. Again, I don't know what your day-to-day needs are
Mhm.
and how many, hours that you must have a nurse, so some of this, may not.
Well, I can answer some of that
Okay,
for
hang-
you. So, okay.
Let me finish and then we'll bundle it together. So, one of the thoughts that came up is the potential that the health department, that is literally across the parking lot, has nurses under contract that potentially could service the juvenile center with a modification to their contract, and they would be, it could potentially save money. And I understand this is a non-reverting fund, and you've got the money, I get it, but always that fiscal trigger kicks in, and it's like,
Yes.
if we can save money, that money can go for something else, and so it's spend it here or spend it there, I get it. But I think it's an interesting conversation, and I don't know if you would have an opportunity between now and next week to sit down with Joni Wise
Mhm.
and just see if you could outline the actual day-to-day needs
Mhm.
and determine whether it's something that they could service. Again, we probably would have to modify the contract. I don't know. But I think that it could be a possible work through that could be a positive financially. But I think I'm also very concerned is you said something in your statement that there was an amendment to this contract that.
No, we were amendment to the quality correctional care, the medical service prior to 3C.
Prior to 3C,
Mhm, yeah.
okay. So you're technically not in this contract, is that what you're saying? The contract that took effect, I think, January 1st of this year?
We're an amendment to that, too.
You are an amendment to it?
Yes.
So I think from a legal standpoint, it would be interesting to understand, can they then start charging you additional funds if it was an amendment in the contract that they were going to do it?
Those were the original funds. So the jail actually paid for the funds January, February, March, and April. We're now taking responsibility for that. The jail did pay for the funds the first quarter of the year out of their budget.
So it's not a contractual situation, it's where the money's coming from.
Correct.
The sheriff's department is saying they're no longer able to fund this.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. President, I'll just conclude that questioning.
Question. Councilman Anderson?
Well, the funding is in their budget, right, for 25?
No, because last year, when they did budgets, the jail did their budget, and when we did our budget, we did not realize the company was going to change. 3C is a little bit more expensive than QCC that we had before. So when budgets were done last year in June and July, this was not even thought of, that the company was going to change and then that we were going to be on our own basically and have to pay for this nurse.
Okay.
Further questions?
And one thing I do want to say regarding with the health department and the nurse, so this does not only, that also includes a practitioner that comes in once a week. So with the Department of Corrections, you have to have a 7-day physical for every child and a 14-day physical. The 7-day physical can be done by an LPN or RN. The 14-day physical has to be done by someone with prescribing rights, so a nurse practitioner or higher. So that amount that I'm asking for, also, we have a nurse practitioner that comes in twice a week to see the children and do the 14-day physicals.
Mr. President, follow up, please.
Yes.
So and again, I encourage you to speak with Joni Wise, because I'm far from the expert on this, but I know she is. But the county has Dr. Bruckens, and the nurses that work within the health department are under his supervision, I believe. Again, I'm not an expert in this area. So I think,
We also have Dr. Brown, who's our pediatrician, who's in once a week, that has the prescribing capabilities under contract.
okay, so from the back of the room, Director Wise said that there's also Dr. Brown. So the other thing is I think one of the things that, and it's because I've sat on the council now for, 3 months, 4 months, seems like 5 years. But one of the things that we have learned is through Joni Wise, is that hiring nurses, if that nurse is going to stay on, fine, but maintaining that level, whether it's going to be an RN, and I don't think there was anything that actually denoted whether it was going to be an RN, an LPN, or a medical assistant. And again, if you'll have that conversation with Joni Wise, I would appreciate it, just to see if there is some synergy or savings to the county. It would be great.
Perfect.
Thank you,
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes.
Anything further? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to D, additional appropriation 2025-32, Health Department.
Good evening. Joni Wise, Administrator for the Vigo County Health Department. This is the last time you're going to see me up here asking for an appropriation out of last year's 2024 HFI funds. And I would like to introduce a couple that do extremely compassionate work in our community, and I'm also very proud to call them my friends of almost 4 decades, Angie and Bill Treadway.
Good evening, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Pleasure to be here with you this evening. My name is Bill Treadway. I am the fundraising director for Compassion Ministries. So when things need paid for, they turn to me. Sometimes I've turned to you. Many of you have seen me beating on your doors in years past for Thanksgiving donations. So we started out 17, 18 years ago by doing Thanksgiving baskets. And we quickly learned that people are hungry all year round. And especially as prices have escalated, food insecurity has increased. It's a problem for the entire community. And we decided to take that on. Our pastor, Jeffrey Harpole, decided that we needed to do much more than just Thanksgiving baskets, but to do a full-fledged food pantry. So a food pantry was built. Many of you have been there. It's like a small grocery store. And we service, and of course, my wife is the director. I'll have her speak to all the numbers. But the idea was to create something where people could come in and be treated with a lot of dignity and a lot of respect. For those of you who haven't been there, you come into our facility and you get a shopping cart, and it's just like you're at a grocery store. And we tried to model it off of Basler's. We all know how wonderful Basler's is, the service you get there, the quality you get there. And we modeled it off of that. And we quickly discovered that we service a lot of veterans, a lot of children, a lot of our elderly, people that are very susceptible to food insecurity. And so this is the population, that we serve. We have no overhead. No one there receives a salary. Everyone's a volunteer. So when people donate money to Compassion Ministries, there's no overhead cost. There's no debt to pay on the facility. It's all paid for, provided by New Life Fellowship, our church. And on occasion, when we have the opportunity to partner with Meijer, one of our corporate partners, it's not 100% of a donation that gets taken in. It's 166%, because they have a double match program. So when somebody donates $10, we get $30 in gift cards. So we're one of the few charities where it's not 100%, it's 166% goes to helping people in our community. So I'm going to turn this over to my wife, the lovely and talented Angela Treadway. I want that on the record, lovely and talented. She is the Executive Director of Compassion Ministries, and she will be happy to present everything to you.
And Joni just told that I was old, so thank you, Joni.
Well, that tells on myself too.
Yes. I just want to tell you about our pantry. I know that we get into numbers or we could get into costs and things, and I'm sure you want to know some of that, but I want to tell you about our pantry. So one of our goals is to know the people. They're just not people that walk through the door. We try to have a personal relationship with them, at least know them on a first name basis and know their needs. So as Bill kind of told you already, we have a lot of people that come that have been first responders or who have been veterans, and now they're on a fixed income. Well, what I found out with conversation with them and with our elderly population is that they're very shy in using benefits that are available, such as SNAP. I can't change their mindset, so I have to try to accommodate them where they are. So one of the things that we do is try to supply things for them that would help. I mean, I wept when I talked to a man who had served in our country and could not afford to feed himself because of food insecurity. So I not just want to give them an item, I want to give them something that's beneficial. So healthy foods is my goal here tonight, to get more healthy food options. So I found that a lot of the elderly, they have diabetes or some type of health issue that maybe they have to have no salt or they have to have no carbs. Unfortunately, carbs are the cheapest way to go in the pantry to make the best meal and to make it go the farthest. So I'm particularly focusing on healthy food options. So this would be like fresh foods, non-processed meat. So hot dogs would not be my goal. It would be, you know, something like fresh pork chops or something like that. I was checked into some meat packaging houses, different things that would give us more healthy food options to help those people that are really struggling with health conditions. Yes, I can give them something and I can fill their belly, but I would like to do that in a way that's beneficial to them, and that would help. So another area, you may not realize this, I don't know if you know where we're located, but we're at Chamberlain and 40 or Wabash. So typically that is a middle class to upper middle class area, but there are some pockets there that there's a lot of food insecurity, like Latta Mobile Home, Briar Ridge. So we service those places and we have a really good relationship there. So that's where they turn when they're in need. They come to us, we know them. And those are lots and lots of children. And again, you know, I can give them some kind of Rice Krispie treat, or I could try to give them something that would be a little more healthy that they might opt for. So I will just give you a few numbers. I won't bore you with those, but we help somewhere between 150 to 200 families every month. Now that's just families. That translates into about 600 people, give or take, that are being fed through the pantry. That's monthly. Our Thanksgiving baskets, we feed about 2,000 people a year through our Thanksgiving baskets. That's about 350 families. And I know these numbers are hard numbers because I have to turn them into the USDA every month. So I can give you facts. And then if there's an emergency appointment, we're always available for that. So we have a lot of things that we do. I have a great staff, and again, they're all volunteers. So all of the money that we are requesting would go straight to food only. It'll be appropriated solely for food, healthy option food, not any type of upkeep costs, freezers, nothing like that. Do you have any questions?
Councilman Ellis?
For those folks that are watching on YouTube right now and maybe in need of your services, where would they go?
It's New Life Fellowship. Our pantry is separate. It's called Compassion Ministries. It's a separate building, but it's on the same campus. And so our address is 7711 Wabash Avenue,
Thank you.
Terre Haute.
Councilwoman Wigger?
I do want to say, I know that. Oh, I'll turn my mic on. They always turn it off when I start talking. I want to say that I have brought college students to you, and you've been so generous to them, and they're so shy when they come, and they feel humiliated when they arrive, and they feel so grateful and so fulfilled when they leave. You do wonderful work.
Thank you.
Councilman Gentry?
I just want to say to the council members, my wife and I have had the pleasure, not only do we know the Treadways, but we've worked at the pantry quite a bit. My daughters work there, my boys have worked there. If you guys ever have a free moment, go out there and work. on one of their nights. They do a lot of really, really good stuff out there. So congratulations, you guys are doing a really good job.
Thank you.
You're
We appreciate that.
special for our community.
Thank you.
Further questions from council? Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Next is E, amended salary ordinance 2025-13, Auditor's Office.
This is a first for me. I'm usually over there. Thank you, council, for giving me this opportunity. I am requesting a position change. This is to eliminate the position of Deputy Auditor, Financial Grants Administrator, which is a grade 10 at $49,922.60, and to replace it with a new position of Deputy Auditor, Financial Supervisor, Grant Administrator, which will be a pay grade 12 at $56,626.07. The difference between the two pay grades is an increase of $6,703.47. I would also like to let you know that I would consider cutting the overtime budget for the auditor's office from approximately $40,000 to $33,000 the next budget cycle. Any questions?
Questions from council?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Wager?
I want to tell you, Larry, we need a grant administrator. That has really been an important thing that we needed to add for a number of years. That's a good idea. That's
Thank
it.
you.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Councilman Gentry?
Is that we adding a grant administrator? I thought it was already under her role.
No, yeah, her role currently is Financial Grants Administrator, which is a grade 10, and we're now putting that to a Financial Supervisor. So I have a tax supervisor.
Okay, so I want to say the same thing that I've said to everybody else that comes in front of us. Is now the right time? What has triggered this request at this time when we've got budget setting up in probably less than a month or so? You're going to have the budget committee working. Why now? And why do we need to do a pay grade change when, again, our ultimate goal is to try to get all the employees in the midpoint? The only thing I see changing here is the word supervisor. I think everything else is staying the exact same. We're just moving a person a couple of pay grades to give them more money. So since you took office January 1st, what's changed that makes you think that this is an important move right now instead of waiting till budget?
Well, we have two other individuals within the county that are in that position of supervisor. This person has been here a long time and has not been afforded that. Baker Tilly should have done this 3 years ago. When I came on in January, realized what was going on, there were two individuals I talked to. One is not with us anymore. This one still is, and this needs to be done.
Mr.
So,
President?
hold on a second. I'd like to continue my.
Yep.
So, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be done. What I'm worried about and what continues to happen is everything needs to be a 911. We've got to do this right now. You got a budget committee that's setting up that can review this, and if it should have been done 3 years ago, I'm perplexed by the urgency to make this change right now. My concern is that we just seen the state of Indiana cut every department by a minimum of 5%. We see a revenue forecast that potentially is going to be lower than anticipated. We don't know how that's going to shake out at the county. And I'm just perplexed as to why now. What occurred? And you say you've got two other employees that you compare them to. How many, you have a chief deputy, you have how many deputies? Okay, so So you have 13 deputies
Well,
under the
total.
chief deputy? You need to step back to the mic so people at home can hear you.
Actually, we have 11 deputies. I got my, and she's the only chief, okay? Then I have deputy auditors. So it's myself, chief, deputy, and 11 deputies, not chief deputies.
So is this, I've asked the same question of other department heads. Is this simply to compensate this individual more for the same tasks that they're currently doing? Or do you have something in plans here that would give this employee additional role? I see the word supervisor blaring, pops off the paper.
Okay.
Do you mind if I explain? I might be able to help some of that. What he brought up before, Baker Tilly did rate her job higher than what it is now. The department wanted to do some different things and chose not to put it that high. Baker Tilly had rated it higher. The difference is that she is taking on supervisory roles. She looks over the claims. She reviews all claims that go through, which is something that she didn't always do. She also has helped do, like in the tax sale now, she does all the sequatus. Yeah, coitus, sorry, I don't know the word very well. So she has taken on, she's done a lot more supervision work now than she ever has, and that it will continue. So it's different.
Supervision of employees or supervision?
Of the employees and the tasks they're doing. So yes. The other thing is the other jobs or people that he referred to was there are two other financial people in the county, one of them for group homes who just went from a 10 to a 12, doing, I would say, less financial, maybe not as much of the other part that brought this to their attention.
So this precipitated, that move precipitated this move?
I would say that it did help.
Pushed it in
yes.
that direction?
Yes.
So it goes back to what, I don't want to belabor the whole process. I understand the request, and the council is likely to vote your way,
Well,
Mr. Hutchings, but the point to this is that we continually open the door, make these changes when budget time comes around, and in this particular case, budget is coming very soon. It just seems to me like, what is this going to precipitate? So we open this door, and then the next department head comes in, and then we do that, and then we do that, and we do that. Kind of defeats the whole purpose of the budget process. I don't see a 911. I believe this employee's name's Judy. Is that correct? So hear nothing but great things about Judy. You know, I have no animosity towards Judy, but it's just a proper process doesn't seem to be followed, and we just are playing this game of dominoes. One falls over, then we do another, do another. To me, it just takes up a lot of time when there is a process that this council goes through on an annual basis, and that's my only concern. Mr. President, I go back to you, sir.
I would like to say that you do have to remember that the goal is, with positions, you're grading a position, not a person in it. So whether Judy was here or another person came into that position, if they're doing those roles and the supervisory part of it now, that is what makes it. I mean, Judy's a great person, yes, but that is not, it's not that it's Judy in that position. It's a position that should be equal to the same type of work done in now 2 other departments with financial supervisor that are already a grade 12, so.
Have you reviewed this yourself?
Yes, I have.
And do you believe that's the proper move?
Yes, well, like I said, when Baker Tilly was here, it was already rated before the supervisory part higher.
Okay.
And now it's got supervisory skills in it too, so.
Any further questions from council? Councilwoman Wager?
Let me just say, you know, more and more of our financial dependency is grants. You know, and this is a lot of work for that auditor's office that we did not have a year ago. I mean, I think Rob Roberts would tell you, you know, that prosecutor's office really gonna need some grants, and in the public defender's office, I mean, they're writing grants like crazy. Those grants are really a lot of work for the auditor's office, more than they were last year. I
And-
bet you it's half again as much work. It's crazy.
And this position is the one that
They have to do all the
touches every one
reviewing.
of those, almost
Absolutely.
every one of those grants. Maybe
Absolutely.
not
It's
every one,
like
but
it was
almost every
last
one
year.
of them.
It's way more work.
And I will say one more thing about Judy, and she did not want me to mention her name,
Oh,
but since you did, I will. If a grant, if a grant is not supposed to be used a certain way, she will come right to my office and tell me, Larry, that's not right. And not a lot of people know how to do that. And then I make a phone call, and I'm the bad guy, but that's all right. That's what I was elected for. But that's the kind of person she is.
yeah.
Larry, I had asked you this before. Your overtime, approximately $40,000. You
Yes.
were willing to give up essentially the amount of the increase. How
Absolutely.
much of that 40,000 did you use last year? Are you aware? I think it was
I don't
pretty close
kn-
to all of it. I just wanted to, I mean,
Yeah, it was most of it, yeah.
okay. All right. Anything further?
Yeah, Larry, are you willing to give up that part-time money every year, that 7,000?
In this particular case, yes.
Yeah, because I understand, I know what Judy does.
Yeah, she's a rock there. I'm not
Yes,
gonna lie
she
to you.
is. I
She's a
know.
rock.
I appreciate it. Councilman Anderson?
Well, at budget time, the overtime, quite a bit of it was used for that, because we spend quite a few days on the budget committee. And I know that Judy's got the knowledge to do that. So we've got a budget coming up, and we're gonna have a terrible budget time this year with the cuts and stuff that they're giving us. So, I've known her a long time, but that's not personal. We gotta rely on somebody
Yeah.
in there that's got the knowledge from the budgets before.
And since I have been there, we did make a decision pretty quickly that we would cut as much overtime as possible, which that has happened. We have, on average per pay, maybe 3 to 4 hours of overtime now versus what we were doing, I don't know, close to 20 sometimes.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make our cuts also.
Mr. President,
you.
I think we should point out, when this budget time comes up, it's a booger. I mean, it really sucks up overtime. You will hate it. We didn't tell you that when you first got
So,
elected.
no, they did. I just didn't realize how much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, thank you.
we're ready.
Thank you.
Thank you.
G, additional appropriation 2025-34, Drug and Veterans Court.
Good evening. Charles Johnson, Vigo County Division Court 1 Judge, as well as Taylor Trinkle, Coordinator for Veterans Treatment Court Program, as well as Vigo County Drug Court Program. We're here requesting 2 appropriations in 2 different funds. In 9108, we're requesting that $1,000 be appropriated to equipment for new computers for staff. That'd be Billy Caldero, as well as $500 for parking permits to cover staff for the remainder of the year. The request is out of clerk fees, which is currently set at, I believe, they're currently available as $5,728.70 in unallocated funds. And then as far as 2511, we're requesting a $2,000 appropriation for equipment for new computers for the staff in the drug court program, as well as $10,000 for drug screen contract payments. That's through AverHealth. There was recently $22,173.09 moved into the 2511 drug court fund from 2510, which was an old alcohol and drug court fund that's no longer operating. So that money is currently just sitting in the 2511. The request for equipment will cover 3 new desktop computers as well as 3 screens. That's will be ordered through, I believe it was Newegg was where the quote was received through that. The computers currently are all laptops. These would be desktops. The laptops have been continuously plugged in, I believe, for at least 5 years, so the life of the laptops are nearing towards the end. As far as the parking, for the drug court offices, we need the $500 to cover the remainder of the year for their staff to park. That's through First Financial there at the office. And as the drug screens, the $10,000 is additional to cover the payments to AverHealth, which was the new drug screening company that Community Corrections does run their drug screens through. The new contract has raised costs for drug screens. It had been previously about $11 a drug screen, and now it's about $21 a drug screen, and that's for each participant. The requirements of the programs in drug court as well as veterans court require that the participants screen at least twice a week, so that'll add up quickly. Our current contract bill is about $3,200 a month. It had previously been about $1,000. So the hope would be that these allocations would cover the new equipment for this year and hopefully into the future, as well as the parking pass would cover for this year. And then the $10,000 would hopefully get us closer to the end, depending how the funding goes. We may have to come back for a little bit more on that, but for right now, that's what the hope would be to cover this at least towards the end of the year.
Judge, $500 First Financial, I just caught that. Where are these people parking at?
They're at the parking lot that's next to the office space there in Ohio. It's owned by First Financial, and they, do you know exactly?
I can explain.
Okay.
Our parking lot is next to the building. We're in a building, we're 653 Ohio. The only parking option for us that's not that parking lot is 2-hour parking on the street. So we would have to move our vehicles every 2 hours. So we park in the lot next to it, which is owned by First Financial Bank. They issue us yellow parking tags. They're $20 per month. So we speak with Miss Esther at Financial Bank, and she issues those passes to us. So she just issues me an invoice, and then I pay that to her.
Thank you. Judge, I know Judge Reddy was before the council not too long ago, also asking, and we appropriated money for, I believe, was drug screens. Are all the courts, this is just curiosity, are all the courts operating the drug screens all funded court by court? So like when you're doing the Veterans Court and the Drug Court, that's a separate fund that Judge Reddy would not have access. She has her own funds. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
Any other questions from council? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. I believe that is it on appropriations. Number 7, public comment.
Good evening, council members. You thought you weren't going to get to hear from me tonight, but thanks to Tammy Allen, I have some information for you regarding Hamilton Center. Just to let you know, we do pay them by the month. 2023, their overall total was $714,906. 2024, $737,394. And in 2025, it's $760,492, and we pay them $63,374.33 a month. It is a monthly payment.
Thank you.
What?
So from a legal perspective, does that mean that would automatically stop effective, what was it, June 30th, July 1st?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if they want to be in compliance with the law.
Do we have to make a motion at some point to, did we budgeted that, or does that just automatically go out? How would we stop the auditor from making that payment to comply with the law?
Well, I'm not, I think we would, to presume that they are not going to do something to correct it. I mean, I just want to if they did something to bring themselves into compliance with the law, then we agree that they would continue making the payments, correct?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
yes.
So,
I'm assuming that they can't move that quickly to adjust a person's salary that quickly. I don't know, but.
yeah, I
and
don't know.
That's a big cut in the pay. so.
Yeah, I don't know either. My only point there was, I think there will be, they will need to take steps to try and bring themselves into compliance with the statute, assuming they're not doing that already. And before a payment were made in July, we would want to verify that they are not in violation of that statute. But all of that, I mean, would originate from the commissioner's office. I mean, their agreement for the community mental health designation comes from the commissioner's office. So the directives on what needs to be done, I think would derive from that office. Certainly, the council would be in a position to verify anything that's going on with regards to that, but I don't know that the council would need to take any action. The commissioners they submit the invoice to, that's who pays the bill. The auditors who processes it. I don't know that the council would need to take any affirmative action to ensure that the statute is being complied with, I guess.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilwoman Wilson.
Okay, we're gonna assume that they
Yeah.
don't comply and we stop their payments as of July 1st. What happens to the rest of the money that was budgeted?
Well, that's a very good question, Councilwoman Wilson, and to be honest, I honestly don't know. My
General fund?
background on this is that
General fund?
yeah, every county in Indiana has to designate a community mental health center that makes them eligible for that portion of the tax rate. And so if we did not have one, or we did not have one that was capable of complying with the statute, then we would need directive from the Department of Local Government Finance or the State Board of Accounts as to what steps we should take next, because I don't think that there's a lot of background that goes into being eligible to be declared a community mental health center and a nonprofit designation, and I don't know that there would be any other entity with those capabilities existing in this general area right now.
So
Now,
I'd have to go back to the state.
yeah, and maybe look towards there's no prerequisite that your community mental health provider has to be in the community. You can contract with a outside entity who's just got that designation and fits the criteria laid out in the statute. Obviously, having that local connection is desirable, I think, from most people's perspective, but it's not a necessity. So, you're welcome.
Are they paid on a fiscal year? Is that why June 30th is a dead-on day?
It sounds like they're paid, at this point, they're billed monthly. that the
Yeah.
commissioner's office is billed monthly.
But I wonder if June 30th is.
That's
is-
just when they set laws to take effect, typically is July 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, barring the, some sort of emergency declaration from the state, most laws typically take effect July 1st.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further public comment?
Brad Burbrink, Vigo County farmer. I just got a couple quick questions. One on the, are you guys the council who makes the budget for the county?
Yes.
Okay. And do you guys get to set the percentage that we get taxed or not?
There's no rate set with assessed values, but I don't know what to, I mean, for the future.
Okay.
We don't know. Until all the assessed values are calculated and then see what the value is. We set the budget, okay? And then that's what it is approved by DLGF, State Board of Accounts, and then whatever it is.
Okay. That's fine.
Sorry.
You're fine.
You can hear me.
I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
What I'm here to represent, I guess, is the landowners of Vigo County, especially, it's one thing for me, I'm getting older, but a lot of them are 70 to 95 years old. Fixed income, property taxes over $50 an acre. Clay County, 3 miles over, $24 to $26 an acre. That's a big deal. We're talking people work their whole life, this is their retirement plan, and they're paying $25, $20 more an acre. I appreciate we're staying in the budget in this county, but it's ridiculous. We're out of control.
I think we all were shocked. I went to the Farm Bureau meeting the other night, and that was a big discussion. And I heard today, and I'm not sure, but they were dropping the assessed value on farmland a little bit. Have you heard that?
That's what they're working on, because we're on like a decline.
Right.
To where.
And I mean, it's not a whole lot, but they were gonna drop it from what the state was mandating, or state was telling them they had to use.
Yeah, because it was supposed to keep going up.
Yep.
Well, that's a big deal when they're getting charged $50-some and they're getting $250 of income. Time they take their property taxes out, their income taxes out, and that's their 401k.
Yep. I agree.
Sullivan County's about $40 an acre. We're 50 plus.
Yep.
That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any further comment? With none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting's adjourned, 6:08.